This is a Nerd Alert. Hey guys, welcome back. Or rather, I should be welcoming back myself. Sorry. I have been gone for a really long time. I am graduating in about 2 weeks from high school, so it's gonna be super awesome. I'm looking forward to graduating and stuff. Can't wait, but that also means that I will probably be doing more Nerd Alerts, just because I now have all the free time in the world, and I won't be leaving till college till about the fall, like late fall, or, yeah. Actually, it's more into, like, the winter, because, it's more into... Anyways, so I'm back. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. A couple of days ago, I went to go see the Iron Man 3 premiere. There was an early showing for 9 o'clock over at one of our movie theaters, and I went to go see it with a friend of mine. I was originally supposed to go see it with another friend of mine, but what happened was some shenanigans started occurring, and so some plans got fucked up, and basically that person couldn't show up, so I wound up going with another friend. Just a whole bunch of fiasco, but I don't really want to talk about it on this episode. I really just want to talk about Iron Man 3. Yeah. The reason why I want to talk about it is because, I don't know, there's just a lot of stuff that happened in it. If you were watching this and you have not seen Iron Man 3, spoiler alert right now. If you don't want to know what happens, just leave, go the other way, I don't care. Just do something else, don't be here, because this is about to go down. So I'll just give you a minute. Alright, anyways, here we go. So, I saw Iron Man 3, my synopsis of it, if I could just describe it but with one word, joke. Simply because I don't think the movie itself was a joke, like, this movie was just so gay or something. No, the reason why I thought it was a joke was because they had more humor in it than actual, like, drama or action. They did throw some drama and action, but it was sort of more towards the end of the movie, and even out of it, they still managed to pull some comedic parts out of it. So, also what happened was, if you do want to know what happens, if you are just a spoiler freak and want to know because you're a thrill seeker, basically the Mandarin, who you see in the trailers, is played by Ben Kingsley, and he does resemble the same costume as him and everything from the comics. However, Ben Kingsley is not the Mandarin. The actual Mandarin was, I'm trying to remember his name, Guy Pearce, who plays Aldrich Killian in the film, and basically Aldrich Killian likes to... he's working with this corporation or whatever called AIM, and AIM has a goal to sort of mind control people using something called Extremis, and I guess Extremis basically turns you into a living sun. So you can, like, blow yourself up and everybody turns to ash or something. But yeah, like, the movie itself, I'd say it was okay. If I had to grade it on a scale of, like, 1 to 10, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. The movie itself was more funny, like I said, but as for actual action sequences, like Iron Man fighting stuff, yeah, there really wasn't much of that. I think War Machine, or in this movie, he changed his name and it's now the Iron Patriot. I think he had the most action scenes. You know, he did break into a lot of Afghani and Pakistani bunkers and stuff, and he was taking out a lot of terrorists and whatnot, but I guess that's cool because he's the Iron Patriot and he has to do that. But actual Iron Man, like, sequences where he's fighting and punching and, like, shooting lasers out of his hand and eyeballs, not really a whole lot of that. You know, he did save a lot of people every now and then, but there wasn't, like, any actual, like, fighting, like, yeah. But yeah, where was I? I forgot. Okay, so basically, oh yeah. Basically, Guy Pearce, who plays Aldrich Killian, is the Mandarin. What happens is, he's got this whole goal in his mind that he wants revenge on Tony Stark because you left me on a rooftop 13 years ago or some crap. So when that happens, I guess he creates a personal vendetta against him and he just wants him dead. So he creates this extremist program where it turns into a sun. You can blow yourself up. You can also make your hand out of like fire and like melt shit. But yeah, his whole plan is basically to. I didn't even get that. It was like hold the president and like the War Machine or Iron Patriot suit about 50 feet above the ground and set him on fire, sort of like the old Viking ways, in order to prove a point or something. I don't know. I didn't really get the whole storyline of it. It was just too confusing. But yeah, overall, if you do want to see just some comedic action with Iron Man, I'd recommend you go see this movie. But actually, like, to look forward to action, fighting, and like all this other stuff, I would not recommend it. I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I'm just saying it wasn't the greatest movie. It was just okay. So, with Iron Man 3 now, of course, you have to stay for the very end of the credits in order to see that final scene, because this is going to all lead up to the Avengers Phase 2. Not that the actual movie will be called Avengers Phase 2, it'll just probably be called Avengers 2 or some shit, but to back me up and to prove that this movie was more comedic than it was actual action. At the very end, how you have to stay for that final film, how you have to stay for that final scene. Well, what happens is Tony Stark is just sitting there, and he's still talking because throughout the movie he's narrating himself. So Tony Stark is just sitting on a couch, and you got the same voice, and he's just talking to somebody, but you don't know who it is. And when the camera does pan to see who it is, it's actually Mark Ruffalo from the Avengers who plays the Hulk. And since they are best friends, he just starts talking to him, and he looks over, and Mark Ruffalo is dead asleep, as in he was not paying attention to anything that he has been saying. And Tony Stark's like, "Where did I lose you?" And he's like, "The part about the elevator." Well, that was the very beginning of this movie, so yeah. It was just more comedic than actual, like, anything. It doesn't give any information about the Avengers. Other than if you do actually stay for the very, very end, like after that one scene, then there's a little title that says Tony Stark will return. Does not say what he will return to. Doesn't mean that he will even return to the Avengers, He could just return to another movie, because the Guardians of the Galaxy is actually coming out and is another Marvel production. So he might return in that as just a guest appearance, I don't know. I had originally thought that there was a lot of things that were going to tie into the Avengers from this film, but now that I saw it, I don't think it will quite so much. One of my other One of my other ideas that I actually had thought that would happen was the Mandarin's actual abilities in this movie of Iron Man. It's more like he's a dragon because he can breathe fire, he can control fire, he's like indestructible and all this stuff. So he's more like a dragon, and it's also proven because he has tattoos as he rips off his shirt on top of the crane that he's on. He rips off his shirt and he's got a bunch of dragon tattoos. So I guess in this movie they decided to portray him as a dragon, but that's not how he is in the comics. In the comics, he actually wields these 10 magical rings, and each ring controls a different power. So I had originally thought that in one of my other nerd alerts that maybe some of these gems would actually control the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet would actually tie into Thanos, who appears at the very end of the Avengers. But seeing as it was never referenced that he has any rings of power or anything, it doesn't seem likely that the Infinity Gauntlet story will actually roll into the Avengers, I don't know what's going to happen now, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But I was kind of upset about that they never did reference the actual Mandarin's, like, rings or anything, how he can control all these elements, and how he can do all this awesome, badass shit. But I guess they decided to just take it as a joke. What else? With that, at the very end of the Avengers, Tony Stark cures Pepper Potts because she was injected with the Extremis, so she became a living son as well. And so they decided to cure her of Extremis, and that happens. But then Tony Stark said, "Why stop there?" And he actually got the shrapnel out of his heart, so he doesn't need his arc reactor anymore. I lost my train of thought. Just give me a sec. With that, I suppose now, I don't know if he's going to be a main character in the Avengers. If they do still decide to take it on to the Infinity Gauntlet for the Avengers, Tony Stark might not be in it. He might just make a guest appearance because I don't know. But as for actually being in it to be like a main character, I'm not sure. Personally, I think for main characters in the Avengers 2, I think somebody from the Guardians of the Galaxy, I forgot the guy's name, but the main character of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think he might have a bigger role. And so might Thor, because Thor in the Avengers didn't even have that big of a role. He was just sort of there as a tank. You know, he wasn't there to, like, throw any fuse, and he wasn't there to, like, do anything. He was just there, you know? So maybe Thor might return. Maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy's main character might actually have a bigger role when the Avengers Phase 2 does come out. I don't know. So there is that, but as for Iron Man returning as Iron Man in his metal suit, I don't think that will happen in the Avengers 2. So I'm sorry if you're not happy about that, but yeah. I'm not sure, but this is just my guess. I'm just making pre-assumptions of what's going to happen. So there is that. Also, right before the movie started, you also have the trailers coming out, blah, blah, blah. And they have the Thor 2 trailer. With the Thor 2 trailer, it's just a bunch of elves and a bunch of explosions and a bunch of teleporting. So I don't know how that one's going to play out. I personally kind of iffy about Thor. I just don't like the matter of a god. Not that I have problems with religion. We're not even going to talk about that on this. So, but yeah, as for the Thor 2 trailer, what I think about it, they could spice it up a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? They could throw a little bit more flair into it, a little bit more I am Thor into it, you know? But yeah, all we see is like Natalie Portman hanging, levitating, and then the bad guy is going to be Malekith, I believe, which is a dark elf who's basically like Two-Face with magical powers. And basically Malekith is just holding Natalie Portman up, and as he's holding her up, Thor just drops to his knees and he's like, "Ah!" He screams out like shit, and then he's like, "What are you willing to sacrifice?" or whatever, and I don't know, maybe Natalie Portman is going to die in Thor 2. I hope so. Not that I have a personal vendetta against Natalie Portman, but I just don't like her as an actress. After Black Swan, I just didn't like it. So, I believe that's all I have to talk about today, guys. I'm back. Be sure to tell your friends. Tell them to subscribe to me. And, yeah, it's going to be super awesome. The summer's coming up. There's going to be a lot of awesome stuff coming. There's Comic-Con that's coming to Denver. You might want to go if you're in the Colorado Springs or Denver area. Be sure to come. It's going to be super awesome. Stan the Man Lee, will actually be at Comic-Con. And you can have special passes, which you can buy online, but I think they're already sold out. Or you can just go see him, I suppose, at the convention and just get an autograph or something, or just say hi to him. The guy is awesome, you know? He made all these Marvel things come true. So there is that. And who else is coming? Kelly Hu is coming. I don't know if you know who that is. For those of you 90s kids, if you remember the Scorpion King, she was the sorceress. But since then, she hasn't really done a whole bunch of movies. She's actually been more of a voice actress, basically behind the scenes and stuff. So she's been doing a lot of cartoon shows for voices and stuff. And I believe she has a new TV show or something. I'm not sure. But I do want to meet her simply because I think she's hot. Yeah. Anyways, but no, it would be really cool just to see a bunch of actual actors and like actual celebrities and stars at Comic-Con. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be super awesome, and I'm just gonna blow all my money on comic books, action figures, and possible Ewok strippers. This has been your episode of Nerd Alert. Hope you guys have an awesome one. I will see you next time, probably more throughout the summer. And I probably look like a hairy jelly bean right now because I'm growing out my facial hair again. I missed it, and I want it back. Just like I want you guys back, my fans. See you guys around.